Hi there, I'm John from CNCKing.com, and today we'll make a custom oak portrait. In the walls of my house, we don't actually have a lot of color photography. Most of what we have is actually done in other materials just because I can. In this case here, it's a piece of oak, 3/4 inch, and a laser engraved portrait of Simon's grandparents on it. As you can see here, Simon is the one here. He's trying to figure out how to do the peace sign. So in this case here, we had a photograph that was taken with a digital camera, and the resolution was just about perfect for this application. And the picture had just enough contrast in it that it worked out. The hardest part about doing this kind of work is actually the photograph. If we have a bad photograph, it's really hard to try to fix it up in post and to try to laser engrave that onto a material or etch it onto steel. Now if you look at it close up, you can see the details are just about perfect on it. And the reason this kind of works out too is the background. So you can see his head here, his grandfather's head. And again, there's a background showing contrast. You see the grandmother here, and there's just enough contrast in her hair in the background for it to work. And the shirts have a bit of detail on them as well. So it's actually a really good photograph for this application. The photographs that have the most trouble at being laser engraved onto wood are the ones that are relatively old. So they're done with really old cameras that have muddy sort of contrast. Because at the end of the day, it comes out to contrast. If it looks like it's glossed over, or if the photograph looks like it's been taken underwater, it's absolutely horrendous for this application here. That's how old photography is. New photography, you could play around with a lot of different options, even with a finished photograph, to try to get the best possible image you can on a wooden portrait, in this case here. Whenever you do custom wooden portraits like this, something you have to keep in mind is that wood is a natural product. As such, it has different densities in material and different textures across even the same board as you see here. So for instance, you have knots, you'll have some not a lot of rot, but a little bit of degraded wood, a little bit of newer wood. Like it's a mix and match of a bunch of different densities. And you have to remember the laser, the way it works is the results are based on the density of the material. So if you want something 100% perfect, well then we got to use a man-made material like corian or something like that to do the laser engraving, but it's not the same effect, it doesn't have the same warmth as wood. Now some woods are more consistent than others, but at the end of the day, it's still a natural product. So it's just something to keep in mind. So if you're looking for something absolutely homey, so to speak, to have in your house, wood is a wonderful material for that. You also have different variations in grain texture and also grain color and a whole bunch of other things. So again, just keep in mind, when it comes to laser engraving wood, we can control the engraving, but we can't control the effect that the engraving has on the finished product. So after the laser does its initial work, it gets really, really smoky and full of resins and stuff like that. And even the distribution of that is different based on, a ton of different factors. So that's why it's very important afterwards to go through a sanding process to clean off at least the top surface that was not laser engraved. And at the same time, I generally clean up all the edges, and I also blow a lot of air onto it to get rid of any resins or stuff that were actually in the charcoal while it was being engraved. After that, what I generally use is just tung oil. Tung oil is a wonderful material to use. You can actually eat it. It's a natural product and it does wonders on wood. It seals it wonderfully after a couple of coats. It's very easy to find and it's very, very easy to work with. So that's definitely my preference whenever it comes to woodworking. Tung oil is definitely my go-to material or go-to finishing product. So when it comes to your options with digital photographs to put onto wood, in this case here, your options are totally endless, but send a whole bunch of different photographs to us because then we could pick the best one that works the best for the material. The nice thing about oak is it's a hardwood, so it's has a good weight to it, but it's also relatively flat and it stays that way after finishing. The finishing I put on this is just tung oil, so it's nothing special and you don't really need anything too special. The other thing that I keep in mind when it comes to photographs like this here is that you probably want to add a date. That's what I started doing with the photographs I start to convert to wood or steel. In this case here you can see the 2024. So we know the date of the photograph because, this year is 2024. So obviously we know when this photograph was taken. 10 years down the line, maybe 1 or 2 years plus or minus, 50 years down the line, who knows? You know, Simon's kids in 100 years, who knows? They don't even know who this is anymore. So that's why adding a date is a very good thing to add on photographs in general, but also, you know, especially something that's laser engraved, because this thing here will last pretty much forever if it's inside of a house. Some of the photographs I've done I've actually put on stainless steel, and they'll last thousands of years. So it's fun to go back and say, okay, well, when was this? We know the exact date when it was taken, and you know, obviously there'll be a video of me making it, and they could hopefully go back to on YouTube in 100 years and see how, you know, their great-grandfather made something like this for him. So if you're looking for custom photography put onto another material, contact me at CNCKing.com. We'll make it for you and ship it right to your door.